What's good, everybody? We're back with Game 3 of the BC Provincial's Top 8 with Albert's Dew using ZPST versus Amelia Bottemiller using Cella2. And Amelia lost last game, so she gets the option to go first. And Albert's going to mulligan. So yeah, that's what's going down. Both players are playing pretty fast-paced decks. It could go either way, really. It honestly depends on what the player draws. Albert is at a disadvantage in that he only runs one Mewtwo, so that could hurt him. And there is a card called N that could really hurt either player that I know Amelia runs, but I don't know if Albert runs. She starts with Shaman EX, and that's exactly why I don't like to run the card. You risk starting with it, and then it becomes a liability for the rest of the game. And it's pretty much like saying, hey, opponent, you want 2 free prizes? Well, here you go. So she goes for the gear and gets a Oak, and then thinks about attaching a grass to that Shaman. She ends up doing it. I'm guessing she wants a way to retreat it out to something else after she Oaks and hopefully draws into something, because she doesn't really want to attack with that Shaman, because it's going to do 30 at best, but she could Synthesis as well. But she only gets a Celebi, and I don't know if she'd want to Synthesis onto a Celebi, but she does it anyway, so okay, that's cool. Passes it over to Albert, who starts with Pachirisu. That's not an optimal start for him either. He gets at least one heads. I can't tell if they're both heads or if just one of them is, but I think here he's got another dual ball, so he's kind of set. He definitely wants to go for an attacker. I don't know if he'd rather have a Zekrom or a Tornadus here, but honestly, Tornadus is probably the safer play. It's much easier to set up than a Zekrom. Yeah, he can one-shot the Shaman EX with a Zekrom, but honestly, he'd be fine just two-shotting the Shaman EX, or even better, catching and taking out that Celebi. He goes for the Oak. I don't know if he played the second dual ball. I kind of missed it there, but I don't really think he needed to play the dual ball there. He draws into a it's not that great of a hand. He does get a Zekrom, so that's nice. More attackers is always good, but all he can do is attach an energy and pass it over to Amelia. She plays down Mewtwo EX. Now that she knows he only has one Mewtwo, she can be kind of a little more, ballsy with her Mewtwo's. Because she knows that if he just tries to get into a Mewtwo war, she can just play another one and win it at ease. She retreats into Celebi and then Forest Breath and attaches for turn. And now next turn she'll be able to retreat Celebi and start attacking with her Mewtwo. Albert catches up that Mewtwo, plays a plus power just to get rid of it, and then Oaks. Here, ideally, Albert wants to attack into that Mewtwo for 80, and yeah, ideally he wants to attack into that Mewtwo for 80, and hopefully make it a 2-shot so that the Mewtwo is out of the way. And then at some point here, he's gonna want to set up the Zekrom and catch out that Shaman EX and grab 2 prizes off of that. If he's able to do both of these things, he's going to be ahead by a large sum. And this is, quite frankly, only because she started with that Shaman EX. So, I mean, I know I'm beating up on Shaman EX, but it really is just gimmicky in my opinion. She drops down a Tornadus, whatever. And, I mean, that's pretty acceptable. For whatever reason, I never really like playing my Tornaduses down against lightning matchups because they seem inherently weak. But it's definitely not a bad thing to attack with Tornadus here. I mean, she can potentially 2-shot Thunderuses, maybe even revenge kill the Zekroms if they use plus power, and she can also catch her and KO the Pachi and Shamans in one hit. If she ends, I don't know if that helped or hurt either player, but Albert has a Sky Arrow and an Eviolite in hand. The Sky Arrow is going to be handy for both players. She then retreats in Tornadus, drops a Shaman, and goes for the Hurricane and grabs the first prize. So, ideally here, Albert's going to want to bring out the Tornadus and either attack for 80 or try and capture up the Celebi. He gets another Tornadus and plays it down, attaches that Eviolite. I'm not sure how I feel about that, because she's still going to be able to two-shot the Tornadus, even with the Eviolite. But I think the Zekrom has an experience share on it, so I don't like the idea of running both Eviolite and experience share in the deck. I think you should just choose one and roll with it, because I mean, ideally you're gonna want all of your Pokemon to have experience shares, because I mean, that's what fuels the deck, is getting energy off of your KO'd Pokemon onto a fresh one, so that you can still attack, despite your energy technically leaving the board. He goes ahead and plus powers and does 90, I think. And that's good, because that means he just has to 80 or Hurricane next turn and take out the Mewtwo, unless she has Eviolite. But I know she doesn't play Eviolite. So, she goes for a Dual Ball, and I'm not really sure what she can grab here. Maybe another Mewtwo. Maybe, I guess a Tornadus is acceptable too. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I could work. So she's going to play the Tornadus down. I mean, there's no reason not to. She doesn't need to leave a bench space open because she's already used up her Shaman UL. And she's just going to Oak. She was able to waste those Dual Balls, which means she won't be drawing into them again. I don't know. Part of the time I like to conserve my Dual Balls, but then other times I feel like I should use them up so I don't draw into them late game. But it's actually not a terrible draw late game, because usually I like drawing into them because I'm able to use it to get a key Shaman UL to possibly win the game. But in this case, she used up her Shaman, so that's not really relevant here. She's got to go for the 80 on the Tornadus. Or actually, I think it's 60 because of that Eviolite that I was talking about. But it really doesn't matter, because she's still going to be able to two-shot it. So I think that was a big waste of an Eviolite, and I'm not sure why he did that. He thinks about using a Junk Arm. He wastes, I think he discards a Junk Arm with that Junk Arm, and I don't agree with that. His Junk Arms are really important, and you're going to find out late game that him having more Junk Arms in his deck would have helped him a lot. So don't waste your Junk Arms all willy-nilly like that. They are really important and probably the best trainer in the game right now. I believe he just catches and KOs on Mewtwo and takes 2 prizes, and she's just going to Oak. Right here, oh, I think she captured up that Tornadus. Correct me if I'm wrong. And all she has to do now is promote her Tornadus and then do 80 to knock out his Tornadus. And so yeah, using double Tornadus isn't too bad. It's working out well for her. At this point, she's going to be two-shotting all of Albert's attackers regardless, but she might want to be careful about attacking in a Zekrom, because obviously that's just going to set up a revenge KO with Outrage. But another way to handle those Zekroms is to use her Mewtwo's, because Albert only runs one Mewtwo, so it's not like she'll lose a Mewtwo war. But she does have to be kind of careful, because she did lose a Mewtwo that got two-shotted by a Tornadus. So he's able to Hurricane to do 80, and I know she's probably going to want to retreat here, because that's going to force him to waste a catcher if he wants to KO that Tornadus. But as you can see, as from what you can see from earlier that I talked about, he wasted Junk Arms pretty recklessly, so he's not going to have access to catcher, really. Or he's not going to have a good chance of drawing into a catcher or a Junk Arm. So She just retreats, goes for the 80, and now if I'm Albert here, I would honestly consider starting to attack with my Zekrom on the bench, because he Junipers here. He didn't really need to do that, and that's another thing that's going to hurt him, because if he gets end and he wasted a Juniper he didn't need to waste, he's going to be drawing, he's going to have a low chance of drawing into the supporters he needs to win. I think people need to realize that you don't have to use a supporter all the time. It's better to save them, because N is just such a huge card right now, and you're going to get crippled if you have no supporters left in the deck, and you get N with 2 or less prizes left. He finally actually catches up that Shaman, which I actually forgot about. That's actually a really good play, and he's able to KO the Shaman, but I almost want to say that he should have saved the Shaman for last, because now that he's down to 2 prizes, this gives Amelia a chance to pull off that N I was talking about. That's the thing about N. Don't play into your opponent's N. She catches up that Tornadus with damage, and I think she super odds, but I want to say she ends really soon here, and it's probably a game-breaking end because of the fact that he wasted his supporters and wasted his junk arms and catchers early without really thinking about it. Like, if you can see his discard pile right now, I see a couple catchers and a couple junk arms and a couple junipers and stuff in there that he didn't really need to use. She actually oaks here, so I guess he's not in too much of danger yet, but he really needs to be conservative here, because you always need to be playing as if you're expecting your opponent to play N. That's why I always make sure to try and have energy on all of my guys. I make sure to try and have supporters in the deck, and I try not to waste resources I don't need to waste, but I also try and get rid of the resources that I don't want to draw into, like the plus powers and dual balls, and sometimes even like Celebes and stuff I don't mind discarding. So here I think he makes a really bad play. He has a junk arm in hand, which is great and all, but for whatever reason I think he decides to catcher up that Tornadus on the bench, which is really pointless. He really didn't need to do that. He should have just KO'd the Tornadus that was active, and then yeah, so he junk arms here for that catcher, and you really didn't need to do that. The 3 energy on the Tornadus really didn't mean anything. She already used up her Shaman, so it's not like she can move it around. So that was a huge waste of a junk arm, and that might have cost him the game, just because he really should have saved that. He attached an energy, retreats into Zekrom, and then just bolt strikes, and now it's down to 1 prize. So here, all Amelia really has to do is end, and she can potentially, well, first she drops down the Mewtwo in the DC, uses plus power, kind of wastes resources she doesn't want to draw into, uses her junk arm, discarding more resources she doesn't want to draw into, and she grabs that Pokegear. Now if she gets an N here, this game can turn around, just like that, and she gets the N. So I think she's going to be able to end here, and it's probably going to cripple Albert, because he used too many supporters and junk arms and catchers and stuff that he should have saved, and that could have won him the game. So she grabs that Shaman that she super rotted back in. I mean, I guess she might as well get it, because it's like he has 1 prize left, so it's not like he's going to get 2 prizes off it if he's able to catcher it. But because he's really low on catchers and junk arms, and that he only has 1 card in hand, Amelia's honestly safe just attacking with Mewtwo, because he's not going to be able to one-shot it. So she brings out the Mewtwo and just KOs the Zekrom, I think. Yeah, she KOs the Zekrom, because he had a DC on there, I believe. Or maybe not. Wait a second. Wait a second. Maybe I'm just seeing things, but I think that she might have missed the KO or something, because I didn't see him right, because I had Eviolite on it. Or no, maybe it didn't have Eviolite. I had Experience Share. Okay, my bad. So he just promotes the Tornadus, and his hand's looking really bad. Like, he can't do anything. If he brings up the Zekrom and attacks with that, then it's just going to get KO'd by Mewtwo. So all he's able to do is Hurricane onto the Tornadus, which I disagree with. That just makes it easier for her to KO that Tornadus with X-Ball. All he really should have done here was just kept that Zekrom on the bench and hope to draw into a catcher or something. But by moving his energy off, he's basically saying, here, take this energy, I don't want it. So, yeah, that end really hurt him. I honestly thought that Albert was going to win the game, but now I'm honestly not sure who was going to win the game. She Junipers, and she gets a plus power and is able to KO that Tornadus because he energy wheeled. If he hadn't have energy wheeled, that might not have happened. And now he's just sitting there with 3 attackers in his hand. That's why I also think he should have benched as many of his attackers as he could have, because then he wouldn't be drawing into them or junk armed the attackers away. But I mean, it's not really unlikely for him to draw a hand like this because he wastes those supporters and stuff too early. I guess it doesn't hurt him to really play down any of those guys because Amelia's down to 1 prize, he's down to 1 prize, and he just retreats into the Zekrom, but all she needs is a catcher and it's over. So that is the power of N, ladies and gentlemen. He wasted too many resources and was not prepared for N, so she was able to play an N and potentially win the game. And all she needs is a catcher. She Junipers into catcher and makes an epic comeback. So that is top 8 of the BC regionals. Check back for top 4, which will be done by Tyler soon, and then top 2, which will be done by Tyler. Catch you guys later.